Bombers near Europe. Putin moves four nuclear bombers closer to Europe amid rising tensions after Trump deploys submarines near Russia. Vladimir Putin has redeployed at least four of Russia's heavy Tu-95 nuclear bombers closer to Europe, raising fears of a potential major military escalation, according to a report from Insider UK. These strategic aircraft, often used in Russia's attacks on Ukraine, are reportedly armed with missiles, increasing the likelihood of an imminent large scale offensive. Now, let's get into the thick of it in today's AI podcast episode.
Wow. It feels like we're living through an incredibly tense and uncertain period globally, doesn't it?
It really does.
Our sources, while they really paint this picture of rising instability, almost like a dangerous standoff.
Yeah.
You've got military actions, high-stakes diplomacy, and some, incredibly sharp rhetoric pushing major global players towards, well, an increasingly precarious edge.
It's palpable.
So for this deep dive, we've pulled together a stack of sources, everything from recent news reports to direct statements from key officials.
Right.
We want to try and cut through the noise and get to the heart of what's really happening. We're focusing today on the latest escalations in the Russia-Ukraine war and how they're intertwining with these very public moves by other major global powers.
Absolutely. And our mission today is really to unpack these critical developments for you. We want to help you understand the strategic significance of each move, maybe connect the dots a bit in what is, well, clearly a very emotionally charged situation.
Emotionally charged.
And we'll do that without taking sides, of course. This deep dive should give you the essential insights. You need to be well informed on this whole rapidly evolving global landscape.
Okay, so given that rising instability and sharp rhetoric we're tracking, one of the most immediate, maybe starkest signals of this dangerous standoff comes directly from Russia. I'm talking about their recent redeployment of strategic bombers. This isn't just, a military maneuver. It feels like a profound statement, wouldn't you say?
Oh, absolutely. It's a big one.
Reports, and these are citing the Ukrainian outlet Insider UA, indicate Vladimir Putin has moved at least four Tu-95 strategic bombers closer to Europe.
That's right. And this isn't a small move at all. What's really crucial to understand here are the specific implications.
Okay.
These Tu-95 bombers, well, they aren't just any aircraft. They're known for their capability to carry nuclear weapons.
Right. That's the key part.
Which immediately, ratchets up global concern. And what's more, our sources indicate they've been armed with cruise missiles.
Cruise missiles, too.
Yes. Insider UA suggests this indicates a high probability, their words, of an imminent major offensive.
Wow.
And just to give you some context, these bombers were originally based way out at the Ukrinka Air Base in Russia's far eastern Amur region. That's like, over 3,600 miles from Moscow?
A long way away.
Exactly. They were actually moved there specifically to avoid Ukrainian drone attacks, after incidents like that strike on Alenia Air Base back in June and threats to another base, Engels 2.
So they moved them away for safety.
Precisely. And the fact that they've now returned westward back to Alenia and possibly Engels 2, well, that's very telling.
So what does it signal, moving them back?
Well, look, these aircraft are a core part of Russia's nuclear strike capability, that's clear. But they're also frequently used for conventional missile attacks on Ukraine.
Ah, okay.
So moving them back west signifies this potent blend, really, immediate operational intent for potential conventional strikes, alongside a clear message about their long-term nuclear deterrent. It's kind of a dual-purpose signal.
A dual threat, almost. And it wasn't long after this highly provocative Russian move that we saw a very public counterstatement from the U.S. side, right? How did other major players, especially the U.S., react?
Well, yeah, the timing is interesting. The Russian bomber redeployment came right on the heels of former U.S. President Donald Trump's claim that he'd ordered 2 American nuclear submarines to strategic positions closer to Russia, stating they are, quote, where they have to be.
Okay, submarines now, too.
And this public announcement from Trump, it followed some rather inflammatory remarks from Dmitry Medvedev, who's a key Putin ally.
Right, Medvedev. He's been quite vocal.
Extremely. He'd explicitly warned of a possible nuclear conflict. And Medvedev, who's now the deputy chairman of Russia's Security Council, he further escalated things by accusing Trump of bringing war closer between the U.S. and Russia.
So they're pointing fingers at each other.
Directly. And Trump, well, not one to back down, called Medvedev's remarks highly provocative.
Okay.
So you have this incredibly intense rhetorical back and forth playing out almost in real time, layered directly on top of these very real military movements. It's a very visible, high-stakes, verbal sparring match.
That is a fascinating and, frankly, worrying dance of words. So this raises a big question. With all this rhetoric flying around, what was the official Kremlin stance? How did they respond to both Trump's claims and Medvedev's pretty provocative statements? Did they lean into the fire or try to cool things down?
That's where it gets really interesting. The Kremlin's response, well, it reveals a really nuanced and frankly quite shrewd position.
How so?
Putin spokesman Dmitry Peskov, he quickly moved to downplay Medvedev's words. He clarified, and I'm quoting here, "In every country, different members of leadership have varied perspectives. What matters is the position of President Putin. In Russia, foreign policy is determined solely by the head of state."
So basically saying, listen to Putin, not necessarily Medvedev.
Exactly. He's essentially saying, don't take Medvedev too seriously on this. Focus on Putin. Then, on the U.S. submarine deployment, Peskov confirmed that such military posturing is, quote, ongoing and not new, sort of downplaying its novelty.
Okay, trying to normalize it a bit.
Right. However, and this is where it gets critical, he then issued a very stern warning against escalating rhetoric around nuclear threats. He stated, "We treat any statements about nuclear weapons with utmost seriousness. Russia takes a responsible stance on nuclear non-proliferation. There can be no winners in a nuclear war."
A very clear warning there.
Very clear. He urged restraint, claimed Moscow doesn't view current developments as an escalation, but then he did acknowledge the emotionally charged nature of the recent international discourse.
So it sounds a bit contradictory, downplaying Medvedev but issuing nuclear warnings?
Well, it's not just a contradiction. You could argue it's a masterful display of strategic ambiguity.
Explain that.
By allowing Medvedev's hawkish rhetoric to sort of float out there, while Peskov publicly dismisses it as just varied perspectives, the Kremlin simultaneously tests the waters for escalation and maintains plausible deniability. The real insight here might be Russia's dual approach, keeping the nuclear deterrent on the table as this terrifying backdrop while publicly presenting a face of, diplomatic pragmatism. It forces other powers to constantly guess their true intent.
So if I'm hearing this right, they're basically saying, don't take Medvedev too seriously, but take our nukes very seriously. That's a fascinating tightrope walk.
It is.
And amidst all these high-stakes maneuvers and rhetorical battles between the big powers, it's so crucial we remember that Ukraine itself is far from passive in all this.
Absolutely not.
They are actively intensifying their own counteractions, aren't they?
Very much so. Yeah. Ukraine is not just reacting, they're actively engaged. For instance, just this past Monday, Ukraine's security service, the SBU, reported a pretty significant strike on Russian-occupied Crimea.
What?
Well, according to the SBU, the strike completely destroyed a Russian Su-30 fighter jet and damaged 4 other aircraft, including 3 Su-24 bombers.
Wow, that's substantial.
The SBU declared it a significant blow to Russian air power in the region. It definitely shows their ongoing capability to disrupt Russian operations right where it hurts.
And while these strategic and tactical things are happening, the human cost, it just continues to be absolutely devastating. President Zelensky emphasizes this constantly, right? In his appeals for more support.
That's the critical, heartbreaking reality underneath all the strategic maneuvering, isn't it?
Yeah.
Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky has made these desperate, urgent pleas for global support. He condemned recent Russian attacks that killed 7 civilians, injured 13 others, including a 4-month-old infant. That's awful.
Unbelievable.
Zelensky was quoted directly in one of our sources saying, "Russia is hunting civilians along the entire front line, killing people, killing children."
That's horrific.
And he added that they're deliberately targeting rescuers and medics with FPV drones. Those first-person view drones.
Yeah, the ones they can fly really precisely.
Exactly. They're essentially commercial drones adapted for military use, giving operators this precise, real-time view. It makes them incredibly accurate for targeting specific people or vehicles. And Zelensky says this is standard behavior for the Russian military now.
Targeting rescuers and medics.
It's grim.
Yeah.
And he specifically called for stronger, immediate action from global allies. Particularly, he wants enforcement of secondary sanctions on Russian energy exports and financial institutions.
He's pushing for economic pressure.
Harder pressure. His urgent message is crystal clear. The world has enough power to stop this and protect lives. Every day of delay means more lives lost. It's just a stark reminder of the devastating impact this has on ordinary people on the ground.
It truly is a devastating picture. And, when Zelensky pleads for urgent support, how much of that is a genuine reflection of the sheer desperation, and how much is maybe also a strategic call to keep allies committed? It's probably both, I guess.
Yeah, it's almost certainly both, yes. The need is real, but the plea is also political.
But putting that aside for a moment, despite all these military tensions mounting, the rhetoric flying back and forth, is there any sign of a diplomatic off-ramp? Any efforts to de-escalate? Are leaders actually talking even while all this is happening?
Well, strikingly, yes. Despite all this escalating rhetoric and the military movements we've just discussed, this week actually marks a critical juncture on the diplomatic front.
Really? How so?
Trump's special envoy, Steve Witkoff, is actually scheduled to visit Moscow on Wednesday.
Witkoff is going to Moscow.
That's the plan. And this comes as Trump himself has issued a Friday deadline for Russia.
A deadline for what?
To initiate a ceasefire and begin peace negotiations. The alternative, he says, is fresh U.S. sanctions.
Wow, okay. So an envoy visit and a deadline.
But here's maybe the most surprising detail from our sources. It seems the Putin government itself had requested this upcoming meeting with Witkoff.
Russia requested the meeting, even with the deadline looming.
Apparently so.
Yeah.
And that just adds another layer of complexity, doesn't it?
Yeah.
To these seemingly escalating actions and words. It suggests that even amidst all the public warnings and military posturing, there are these quiet back channels. Perhaps desires for dialogue still exist. It's a really complex interplay of threats and potentially negotiations happening at the same time.
So, okay, we've just unpacked a really dizzying mix of events for you. We've looked at these strategic military movements, the charged rhetoric exchanged between key players.
Divergent sparring.
Right, then the direct military engagement, the awful human toll that comes with it.
Yeah.
And then somehow, amidst all of that, these cautious diplomatic overtures. A meeting requested, a deadline set.
Exactly. And that really leads us to a provocative thought, something for you, the listener, to consider. In a world where leaders are simultaneously issuing these dire nuclear warnings, deploying serious military assets, engaging in direct, bloody conflict, and requesting diplomatic meetings, what does this complex blend of actions and words truly tell us about the future of international stability?
That's the big question, isn't it?
How do you make sense of such seemingly contradictory signals? And what does it imply about the effectiveness of both threats and diplomacy in managing these global crises? I mean, what stands out to you most from this deep dive we've just done into the current landscape? Something to think about.
One question for you. What military advantage does Russia gain by moving the Tu-95 MS bombers closer to Ukraine and Europe? Don't forget to comment it. Thanks.